Guard forward march. Please face the American flag. Salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color Guard post the colors. Scout sign. Please join me in the Scout oath.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Please join me in the Scout law.
A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
2. Color Guard dismissed. You may be seated.
Welcome to our July 27th meeting. Our Scout Conference and Board of Reviews.
Here is Scout Master Conference or Board of Reviews.
First part, Scout Conference. And Price, Star, Scout, Star.
Ooh, nice.
Thank you. I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Surbaugh, our incoming Chief Scout Executive, who will provide general welfare and administrative work for the BSA. Mr. Surbaugh began his career in 1984 as a district executive in Jacksonville, Florida, and then served as a senior district executive and program director in Syracuse, New York. Director of the Field Services, Director of the Development, Field Director and Development Director in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Scout Executive in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Scout Executive in Appleton, Wisconsin, and Scout Executive in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mr. Surbaugh is a recipient of many BSA awards, including Eagle Scout, Individual Honor, member of the Order of Barrel, was bad and for a strong interest in outdoors, served as a camp director and a member of the summer camp staff for 12 years. Please give Mr. Surbaugh a true great introduction.
Wow, thank you. What you got to tell me about it? What is the symbol?
Thunder.
It's a firebird. Firebird. I just want to make sure it's not a thunderbird, is it? No, firebird. Thank you. The reason that I was hoping it wasn't a thunderbird was when I moved with my family from one city to another, we went to a troop. I had been in Boy Scouts for a little while in the previous city, and so we were looking for a troop to join, and there was Troop 225, and they were known as the Thunderbirds. And so my dad and I went, and we were going to sign up and be a Boy Scout, and there were 100 scouts in the troop, and they said, well, we actually have a waiting list, so you would have to be on the waiting list to be in our troop. I know we walked out, and my dad said, that's ridiculous, a waiting list for a Boy Scout troop. So we went down the street to the other troop, Troop 360, which is the one that I joined, and there was a little bit of difference. The Thunderbirds, we never really cared for them too much. Camporees, they lined their tents up with military precision. You know, all the tents were just all on line. And when they would set them up, I mean, everybody marched, and literally the whole troop. It looked like a military formation. Well, the troop that I joined, we had all these old Baker tents, and we would carry kind of this ragtag bunch of tents, and we didn't look too terribly sharp, and our campsite was never really set up all that great. We didn't look that good when we were walking up the road. However, we usually beat the Thunderbirds in every competition. So I am honored to be an honorary member of the Firebirds. That was very cool. Thank you very much. Well, there were a few questions that were put together. I am probably most interested questions that you might have now. I'll answer a couple of these, but if you have other ones, I'd be happy to address them. First, this is a good one. What does the Chief Scout Executive of the Boy Scouts of America actually do? Well, I haven't officially taken office yet, so I'm not completely sure, but I have an idea. I have seen some Chief Scout executives and had a chance to work with some of them, so I have a pretty good feel for what kinds of things that they do. About half the time, your job is in Dallas, Texas. That's where the national headquarters of the Boy Scouts of America is. So you're at the National Service Center, and you're doing all kinds of different things every day. We have as you know, we've got a lot of properties that we manage. We've got a National Scout Museum. We have all kinds of things that go on at the national level. We have a National Jamboree, a World Jamboree. All those things have a lot of planning and background that go to them. So there's a lot of stuff that has to get done to make those activities work. An example would be the National Jamboree coming up. The National Jamboree is going to be a big deal in 2017. It's at the Summit, Quebec Summit Reserve in West Virginia. And it's still a new site for us, so we're kind of working through some bugs there. We've got some facility things to build. So I got involved in meetings where we're talking about some of those things. We have volunteers, just like your troop. Your troop is led by the Scouts. Great answer. The youth lead Scouting. But the youth couldn't do their job if you didn't have tremendous support from the adults that are all standing in the back of the room. Well, that's kind of what my job is like as Chief Scout Executive, is I run the day-to-day things, so I'm kind of like, probably the best description of my job is I'm like the senior control leader. So the things, if you're going to go on a camping trip, you got to plan logistics, right? You got to figure out how to get there, what kind of food you're going to buy, what are you going to do, what's the program going to be. That's kind of what I do with the staff, but I report to an executive board. So we have volunteers, and the volunteers are kind of like all the leaders in your troop. They actually give the leadership, they make the big decisions, and then my job is to make it happen from day to day. So about half my job is like that, meetings during the day, and then about half of it generally is travel and going to different scouting events, having a chance to speak on behalf of the Boy Scouts, and also trying to extend scouting's reach. So places where we're not doing so well in scouting, it's my job to go and try to help. It's also my job to try to figure out the new programs that we should be looking at, or things that would help build the program interest that we've got. Should we be looking at new merit badges? We have all kinds of committees that work with that, and so I get to support them. And then there's occasionally some really cool things you get to do as Chief Scout Executive. Some of our high adventure bases, if you get to go there, I guarantee at the Bechtel Summit, has anybody been to the summit yet? Okay, you know that mile-long zip line? I'll probably get to go to the front of the line and ride that first. So every once in a while, you can have a little bit of command authority and say, I really want to ride the big zip, and can you make that happen? And somebody figures out how to do that. So there's occasional fun things like that. Also, you get a chance to meet some really interesting people. I went to an event at the summit this summer, and we've got some very, very influential people that are on board. We've got scouters that are really program guys. Then we've got some big-time CEOs, very big, huge companies that are also the leadership to our board, help us raise money. I was out at the summit, and I had kind of a miserable trip out there. I went out, the plane that I flew in, I was in seat like 26E, so I'm in the back of the plane, I'm in the middle seat, and guaranteed there's two really big guys on either side. So the whole flight, they got their elbows in here, so I'm stuck in this seat. I had a bunch of emails and stuff that I wanted to get done, so I was trying to open my iPad, and the person, when they put their seat back, they didn't even have enough room to open my iPad, so I'm all crammed there. It was a long flight. I thought, this is just miserable. Finally got there. Now I'm dreading the flight back, because I just know it's going to be exactly the same. Well, one of the members of our board is a CEO of a pretty big company, and he said, hey, I got to go back to Dallas tonight. He said, you want to ride? And I said, sure. So instead of flying in that little tiny middle seat, I found myself at midnight flying on the most expensive private jet aircraft in the world. And this great big fancy leather seat with a cabin attendant who's coming around, can I get you anything to eat? And I was with our current Chief Scout Executive. And what was really interesting was I got to spend 3 hours with somebody that knows world leaders. He was talking about his meetings with Vladimir Putin, Russia. He was talking about meeting with the Chancellor of Germany and what they're really like. And I thought, what other job could you get where you get to meet people like that who know so many people? So I would say, in answer to the first question, the best part of my job is the people that I get to meet. Because I get to meet people that love scouting and make scouting work. I get to meet some pretty interesting and fun people too. Okay, we'll take another one. How did you become the Chief Scout Executive? We had a huge cage match. The way to become Chief Scout Executive is, for me, complete dumb luck. When I joined the Boy Scouts as a staff member, I originally wanted to be an attorney. And I was on summer camp staff, and the scout executive of the council that I was in convinced me not to go to law school and pursue that. And he convinced me to go to this college that had youth agency service as a career. He said, but there's these Boy Scout guys there. He said, you need to be a Boy Scout professional. And so I thought I'd try it out for a year or two, and I got into it and found I really liked it. And then I started working with a lot of volunteers who were attorneys, and they convinced me, keep doing what you're doing. And one thing led to another, and I kept saying, there's only 2 jobs in Boy Scouts of America that I want. I either want to work at Philmont, or I want to work at Florida Sea Base. That's it, those 2 places. Well, never really happened, never really got the opportunities. I kept kind of putting my name in, if there's ever a job, Sea Base, I really want to direct at Sea Base. Finally, they told me, you're never going to get a chance to direct the Sea Base unless you become a scout executive. So I became a scout executive, found that I kind of liked that, it was fun. And then I was happy in that council, they called and said, hey, would you go to this council? I went there, and then got another call and said, hey, would you like to come to this council? Well, along the way, I started doing more and more program kinds of things. And it turned out that at the national office, they needed somebody that was involved in doing a lot of program development. And they said, would you be interested in doing that? And I said, sure, it sounds interesting. I've been in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for 7 years. That would be, kind of a fun change. I thought that would probably be the last job I would have in scouting. And my plan was to kind of retire a little bit early and then go work at Sea Base. Well, I got there, and then in the spring they asked me what I consider putting my name in the hat for Chief Scout Executive. And I thought, yes, I'd like to do that. I think where we're at as an organization, we're going to be huge. We have a lot of potential. There's a lot of good things happening in scouting, and I want to be a part of that. And so I competed against a few other people, and for whatever reason, they picked me. So that's the way I got this job. Let's see. During your term as Chief Scout Executive, what would you like to accomplish, and what changes in the BSA do you see coming in the near future? That would be a better question probably for you, because you would have the best perspective on how do we get more Boy Scouts. The people that you know that aren't in Scouts, why? What's the reasons why? Think your friends are non-Boy Scouts, why aren't they in? Be honest.
Influence. Influence.
Influence others?
Peer pressure.
Okay, so peer pressure saying Scouts is what?
Not cool.
Not cool.
Yeah.
Okay, something like that? All right. So there's an image, right? There's a little image challenge. What else? What are other reasons why somebody would?
Too expensive.
Too expensive?
Like that. Yeah.
Too expensive? Okay, what do you think?
Other countries not very big.
Other countries what?
Other countries it might not be very big there.
Well, it might not. It's scouting as a worldwide movement is actually a lot of places it's growing really fast. Some places a little slower, but we're seeing scouting make a big comeback across the world. In the Far East, we got huge scouting growing. England, where scouting started, everybody knows the story, England, their scouting program has been growing for the last 6 or 7 years. Canada is growing, so it's starting to grow other places. What do you think? They don't know about it. Okay, anything else? Take one more. They think they wouldn't like, so maybe it doesn't have all the things that they're looking for. That's one of the big things that I want to accomplish as Chief Scout. I want to see our movement of scouting grow, and I want to see more boys get a chance to join scouting. The way that I joined, I didn't have, my dad was a Sea Scout, but he was never a Boy Scout, so I didn't have people in my family saying, hey, you're going to be a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout. I didn't really know anything about it. The way that I got into scouting originally was I was really, my behavior was extremely bad in class one day. My teacher discussed that with me. And my punishment was I had to go to the library and get a book and bring the book back, and I had to take it home and write a report on it. Well, I went to the library and I just looked through the books, and I pulled out this book, The Boy Scout Handbook. And I started reading it, and the more I read, I saw wilderness survival, and I saw the training you could get, and I saw the camping and how to make fires, and I thought, this is really exciting. Something spoke to me in that book. I got excited, and I wanted to be a scout. I found out I was too young. I couldn't be a Boy Scout, so I had to join this thing called Cub Scouts. Well, that started the adventure of a lifetime. That's what I want to do as Chief Scouting Executive, is figure out how do we make sure our image is so positive that people want to be Boy Scouts. They don't see it as geeky, dorky, nerdy, uncool.
I think a big part of it is ignorance. Like, well, besides that, we kind of act like a super secret organization, kind of like CIA. And that's how I thought of it when I was like a little kid. Was, oh, it's a secret, super like organization. But besides that, with ignorance, like people think it's kind of nerdy and dorky and stuff because they don't know what specifically you can learn, the skills to be getting here. So I mean, like, let's say you have a bunch of about 10 people. And you have these 10 people go for like a city or 2 cities within one state, or just one state. And they go to different schools. One person per school, and they go in the classroom, and they explain in that classroom, like, what specifically you're going to learn from the Boy Scouts. Like, just an example. And that actually gives information to the kids specifically about what specifics on the Boy Scouts are good, and the skills you're going to learn without going places and learning things. You know, it's not just you can lose some people, and also the importance of the skills you're going to learn.
I think you're absolutely right. My oldest nephew, Nathan, sharp man, he's an honor student at Alabama now. He was captain of his football team, and he's a Eagle Scout. And he's a really nice young man. Scouting was hard for him. And my brother was talking to me about the difference between his experience and my middle nephew, Jacob. And he said it's so different. The troop had gotten down about 7 or 8 scouts when my oldest nephew was in. And he said it was too much like school. It just seemed like it was work. Now my middle nephew, he said he's having a completely different experience because it just seems that he's advancing naturally because of all these exciting activities he's doing. So he said he's having all these adventures, he's having all this fun, and he's getting his rank advancements. It's just not work with it. And interestingly, the troop isn't 7 scouts anymore, it's 38. And they're gaining 1 or 2 every month. So I think what that tells me is that 2 things are happening. One, the program is compelling. People want it. You know, these scouts say, okay, I'm having fun, I'm doing stuff, I like it. And they understand what they're getting once they're in. Because I think you're right, we don't have, most people wouldn't think of all the things we really do with scouts. Dr. Gates is our national president of the Boy Scouts of America on the board. And he's a fascinating guy, former defense secretary. He ran the CIA for a long time. And he tells a story a lot about the only formal management training he thinks he ever got was in the Boy Scouts of America as junior leader training. And he talks about that a lot. And I think he's right in many ways that the fundamentals of leadership, the things that on the surface may not look like you pick up right away in scouting, you get it. If you're in scouting for 4, 5, 6 years, you will be a leader. Your life is going to be different. Because no matter what job you go to, you're going to need leadership. And that's what scouting is all about. That's what we really do, is we build leadership, which I focus on activities. Well, let's see. My fondest scout memories, you don't have that much time. I'm not kidding you. I could write 10 books about my fondest scouting memories. Everybody that's been involved for 20, 30, 40 years, you just have too many things to list. They're all great. But what makes scouting great for you? What makes scouting great for you, in part, is the people you're with. You're going to bond with the scouts in this troop in a very unique way. And sometimes that's going to come through adversity. guys from your troop that went on the Philmont Trek this year, you faced adversity, a lot of adversity. And there's a bonding sometimes that comes from that. And sometimes there's a bonding that comes from good, fun things that occur. But there's a tie that you have with your fellow scouts. That will stay with you the rest of your life. So when you think back on your fondest memories of scouting 30 or 40 years from now, you're probably not going to think of that one camping trip where my sleeping bag, got a bunch of ants in it, and I got bit all night, it was miserable. Probably not. You're going to think of that camping trip and the friends that you had and the people that you were with. So I think probably one of my fondest scouting memories recently was when I went back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I hadn't been in the city in about 25 years, but when I became scout executive there, I met a whole bunch of guys that would come in the front office and they'd say, hey, is Mike Surbaugh here? I want to meet him. And I'd go down and see this guy and it's like, hey, wait a minute. I know somebody that looks like you, but he's not old. And I realized this is a guy that was in my troop, and the last time I saw him was 15 or 16 years old. And I remembered everything about him. I mean, just making those connections again, and I just realized that scouting bond is really, really powerful. So I think that's what you're going to find is the memories of the people are going to be as important, if not more so, in the places you go and the things you do. Well, with that, I'd be happy to open it. Have I gone over my time? Oh, you get me talking about scouting. I said all night. But is there anything that you all are interested in? Anything? I do have one thing, by the way. No, other cool thing that Chief Scout Executive gets. Now you do get to wear this patch, which when you realize in 105 years, there's only 12 people in the world that wore that patch before me. That's pretty cool. You also get a special patch that's made for you. What's not cool is it takes about 12 weeks, and I don't have one yet. But what I did was I've been saving for a really special occasion, and it was funny, I didn't even know why I was saving this, but when I called my friend Chuck and talked to him, and I did a film on July 4th weekend, and heard about what happened, I wanted to come out and visit. And I was going to Los Angeles for a business meeting. I thought, well, if I could swing up to Sacramento, I could do that the evening before. And when he told me the troop was meeting on Monday night, I said, that's just perfect. I really want to go and meet the troop. I thought, what can I bring? So I've been keeping these, and I didn't really know why. These are the only really interesting patches that I kept. And I kept them because it was so unusual. This is a patch that you just can't get. Well, maybe on eBay for $100, but beyond that, it's almost this is unobtainium right here. This is the 1910 to 2010. This is the Centennial Edition Chief Scout Executive patch from the National Jamboree. So this is the hardest one to find, and I brought one for everyone. So that is what we plan. And I'm pretty sure that I brought enough, just in case I didn't, and I'll make sure. I've got one package left at home. But it is funny, since 2010, I've kept those patches. They were extra. I was an aide to the chief. I was an aide to the Chief Scout Executive. My job was to get patches out. And when we left, I had this bag, and I went home, and I called up, and I said, I didn't realize I have all these patches left from the Jamboree. The Jamboree was over, and they said, I don't know, give them away, get rid of them. They had nothing to do with them. But what do you do with them? This is so special. It's never going to be produced again. I knew it when I was coming out here. I had the right thing. So thank you all for your hospitality, and great being here with you. So thank you, gentlemen. Any other questions? You got a quick chance here.
So why do you like sea bass so much?
Because I like looking at tropical fish. I like the sun. I like sand. It's got it all. I love sailing. I haven't had a chance to do a lot of sailing, but I love it. So I just love the sea. Very good reasons.
So we're inviting you to stay for the meeting for a bit, and then or hopefully you can maybe talk to the adults in a little bit. So that's kind of the framework, if that's okay with you.
Look forward to it.
Okay, so you can join the elders.
The elders.
Do you want this?
I got a picture.